Making Chicken Salad this week is brought to you by 3 Count Pro Wrestling Academy. Are you in Brisbane and thought about learning to be a wrestler? Well, here's your chance. 3 Count Pro Wrestling Academy are based out of Beenleigh in Queensland, and they're committed to teaching the best, safest way to learn the art of professional wrestling. Hit up their Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or email admin@3countfitness.com now to register your interest, and we thank them so much for supporting the show.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. But a square peg in a round hole just never seems to fit, and you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Welcome to Wrestle Radio Australia Making Chicken Salad, the show where we talk all things international wrestling. I am your host, a graphics guy who can't pick a font, Lachlan Albert, and I'm joined by the Wang Man himself, Todd Eastman. Todd, how you doing, brother?
What did you call me? The Wang Man?
Oh, all right. Well, let's get straight into this then.
Please do, because I'm like, what?
AEW has been promoting their upcoming event, Winter is Coming, which is, of course, being headlined by the first title defense by Hangman Adam Page against Bryan Danielson. The graphics team did choose a very interesting font for this event, where they advertise him as Hangman, but the H has got like the middle bit is like pointed up, makes it look like a W, and it looks like they're advertising Wangman versus Danielson. Brian tweeted about it. Brian tweeted about it, saying he was going to kick Wangman's head in. Yeah, like it looks like it says Wangman. I don't know if you can bring up the graphic for the viewers at the moment, but
I'll try and find it.
It says Wangman. It definitely says Wangman. Anyway, how you doing, Todd?
Yeah, apparently I'm a Wangman. I'm tired, but I'm good. Had a busy week, as I told you before the show.
A productive week, Todd.
Yes, I was lucky enough to won an award, so I mean that's it's okay. Thank you.
Something about being the best manager ever, or something.
Just of the year. I don't know why it just seems to roll over. They should just roll it.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so let's jump in and start talking about WWE. The big storyline they're building at the moment is another title defense by Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar at WWE Day 1. The storyline over the course of this last episode of SmackDown had Sami Zayn earning a title shot later in the night, but getting just absolutely destroyed by Lesnar before he had a chance to get in there. What are you thinking of this build, Todd, and what do you think of us getting another round of Lesnar and Reigns?
First of all, I just saw Wangman.
It says Wangman, doesn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. Look, I don't know if this was the original plan, or like it seems like that. I don't know why they would have done the whole Battle Royal to get a title shot and then just blow it off the next week with Sami Zayn. The way they have like on SmackDown this week, they had just had Lesnar pretty much intimidate old mate into having the title match on that night and then beating the shit out of him before Lesnar came out for the match. It makes me think that they thought we're going to go with Jeff Hardy at Day 1 versus Reigns. Then something happened and they've gone, oh shit, well, we're going to go with Lesnar. So we'll put a swerve in with Zayn winning it. Because then people won't be as mad.
And to me, this feels like WWE going, something's happened. Sami Zayn can hold a show together. And they put Sami in the spot because they know that it's going to go okay. Like he seems like a safe pair of hands.
Yeah, and also they know that the fans aren't going to be overly mad that he got screwed out of a title shot on a pay-per-view.
Yep. Because no one's going in thinking that Sami Zayn's going to beat Roman Reigns for the title.
No. And Sami's a heel as well, so it's like heel versus heel. It's not really a traditional draw.
And it kind of puts the face energy onto Brock while still keeping him as this decimating monster who is just going to destroy anyone who inconveniences him, but as a good guy.
I was in and out of the house while SmackDown was on this week. Did you see it at all? Because I'm just wondering, was Jeff Hardy even on the show?
I didn't. I only caught bits and pieces. I think Jeff Hardy was in a segment with, but I could be misremembering, Riddick Moss and Happy Corbin and
yes, with now I remember. Thank you.
And Drew McIntyre. Yeah, with some very silly hats. This is the problem I'm having with WWE at the moment. And we talked about it before the show started. Our rundown looks very bare because there's not a lot going on. Everything feels like filler at the moment, other than obviously this, Reigns title defense. It feels like we are pushing through to get to day one. After day one, we can build to the Rumble, and then we can build the actual stories for Mania, which, considering that we are under 60 days from one of the big 4 pay-per-views, it feels weird to me that everything's filler.
Yeah, it feels like they're on just cruise control until Christmas.
Yeah. Speaking of things that WWE are doing, let's talk about NXT, because we do have War Games coming up. Sorry, I got to do my War Games. So the men's War Game match is going to be Team
this is
Yellow
tomorrow as well. Or
it's
depending
coming
when I
right
put it
up.
It's on Monday for Australians. So there you go.
Aussie Monday. It's going to be Team Yellow and Black, which is Ciampa, Gargano, Pete Dunne, and LA Knight. And they're going to verse Team 2, which is Bron Breakker, Carmelo Hayes, Tony D'Angelo, and Grayson Waller. Now, this is a bit interesting. I find it really interesting to put LA Knight on the Team Yellow and Black, considering how recently he has come into the company. I mean, he is a veteran. He's been doing it for a long time. But if that's the argument, maybe Pete Dunne doesn't deserve to be on the team because he is not an experienced. He is not that he's not experienced, but a very young guy, a very fresh face. It feels weird to have Dunne and Knight being part of the quote-unquote legacy team for NXT. On the other hand, Bron Breakker is obviously being made to be a star. I love Grayson Waller. I was a big fan of him in PWA when he was doing the I Got Money thing. So we'll see how that goes. You excited for this match?
Yeah, I am. Look, I'm completely on board with the Pete Dunne in that team because that to me is still the old NXT. LA Knight to me is, it just shows how many people that they don't have from that original group anymore. I mean, they could have put Kyle O'Reilly in, but he's in that thing with Von Wagner. They could have put Roderick Strong in, but he's in the cruiserweight thing. So those were the only other two, really, when you look at it, that are from that old guard that could have been in that team. So yeah, it's sort of like not scraping the bottom of the barrel because I actually really rate LA Knight. I like him. I don't so much like the name.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Eli Drake was great.
His promo work is so natural. It just floods out of him. It's absolutely spectacular.
But it'll be fun to see. It'll be fun to see that it is very much a dividing line of like Team Yellow and Black versus Team 2.0, like the new guys that are coming in, and they've picked pretty much the three of the 4 new guys that really do show potential. I mean, Grayson Waller, Carmelo Hayes, and Bron Breakker, and Tony D'Angelo. It just seems to be that crowd favorite. They sort of love that character, so that's obviously why he's been thrown into that. But,
and I think that
it'll be fun.
Interesting
to see because they're so like guys like Bron Breakker and D'Angelo are so new and so green that I won't say Waller because I can't say that he's green because I've seen him work for years. But like they're so green, to be putting him in that type of match is going to be interesting to see how they respond to it.
Yeah, and I think that it feels like you put those young guys in a match like this as an opportunity to say, you're in the main event, show us what it looks like when you throw caution to the wind in order to put on a stellar main event. Like it it won't shock me if we see, jumps from the top of the cage for big elbow drops and all of that kind of stuff, because these guys will want to show that they deserve to be in the main event. And this is their chance to prove that. Let's talk about the other.
Sorry, also I think Gargano contract might be up after this show. So it'll be interesting to see where he is. And also Beth Phoenix is up after this show as well. We didn't put that in the rundown, so I thought it better.
Yeah, we'll talk about that kind of after we go through the card. We'll mention Beth. Let's talk about the women's War Games match as well. So we've got the team of Raquel Gonzalez, Io Shirai, Cora Jade, and Kaylee Ray taking on a Toxic Attraction team of Mandy Rose, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane, and Dakota Kai. We've talked previously about, I think I've spoken previously about loving what Toxic Attraction are doing. I think Mandy Rose really has come into her own, has shown how good that she really is and how much she's been learning. Well, as part of WWE, Gigi and JC obviously have a great leader there in that little faction, and Dakota Kai has been great for a long time. On the other side, I think Raquel is also someone who's proved herself fairly recently to be really quite good. When she got the title, a lot of people were saying that it was still maybe too early, but she's held her own. She's really put on a show. Obviously, Io is, a couple of years ago, I was saying Io was my favorite wrestler in the world. She's one of the best wrestlers in the world by none. Cora Jade, Kaylee Ray, we'll see what they do again in that spotlight. I think the same goes for Gigi and JC. And again, I think that there's often a feeling when it comes to the NXT women that they want to outdo the men. They want to be the best match on the card, and this is again a chance for them to do that. I like Dakota Kai. I don't like the way she portrays her gimmick or character, if that makes sense. Does that make sense at all? Like, it always seems like she's a scared girl. In every situation, she seems to be always scared. And I don't know if that's just her go-to facial expression, or even when she's trying to act psycho, it just looks like she's acting scared. It's just weird to me. I don't get that vibe,
I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no. I tend to get the shit kicker vibe from her. I don't get that. But I don't know, that just might be, I've got a little bit of emotion blindness, from the autism. So it could be a little bit of that. But anyway, let's talk about the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. Sorry, did I get you at that one there?
Yeah, you did. The casual mention of autism is just great.
Let's talk about the NXT Cruiserweight Championship match. Champion Roderick Strong defending against Joe Gacy.
I can actually see your disgust as you were trying to say it. Only because I love the way this got set up, because this got set up in a way that while I was setting it up, I'm watching this going, oh, Lachlan's going to blow his mind over this.
Gacy's supposed to be the heel, right?
Yeah.
And his heel, the thing he is doing to make this something that everyone will hate, is he's going to make the Cruiserweight Championship an intergender title. How horrible that would be. How awful it would be.
He's making it inclusive. His idea of this, the way I'm seeing it is that he's even though he is 260 pounds or something like that, he's a big dude.
He's a big boy.
Dude. Yeah. No. His excuse for wanting to be a Cruiserweight champion is that you aren't being inclusive to bigger people. And which is on the face of it is that's a good heel gimmick. And the fact that he's actually doing it, right? But it's weird that he's doing it against another guy who is a heel.
The thing is that it's kind of the opposite of the big fudge gimmick almost, right? But we've seen people do the giant cruiserweight thing before. The giant cruiserweight is something that we've seen before. And in the past, they've just pretended that certain guys are under 205 pounds.
Because they used to do that gimmick with Matt Hardy where he had to weigh in before every... Yeah.
Yep. And this cruiserweight title, back before it was, relegated to the spot it is now, because it's not getting a lot of highlight at the moment, unfortunately. But do we really think that Buddy Matthews was weighing in under 205 every time he defended that title?
How dare you, sir? How very dare you?
Not to besmirch the reputation of Buddy here, but
well, I mean, you look at 205
boy.
205 Live is no longer 205 Live.
No,
they have all weights, and now they have all genders on that show as well. So that's they've just really much just phasing out the whole cruiserweight idea, I guess.
I think that's good because I want to see the best match possible. And if that means that some guy who weighs 207 pounds wins the cruiserweight title, I don't care about that, right? Because what they're making it is not the cruiserweight title. They're making it what the X Division title was, right? They're making it, here is an up-and-comer who puts on exciting athletic style matches is what, I mean, obviously, I don't think that's what Gacy will do with it, being a heel if he gets the cruiserweight title. It's going to be that he's big and holding guys down and using his size and strength to keep a title that's meant for little athletic guys.
But then also hiding behind the whole inclusiveness thing. That's what I like about. I like the fact that he is. It's not so much like I'm all for inclusiveness. I'm all for all of that. But there are also that fringe group of people that are the overly woke that push that too far. And here's how I'm feeling about it. If you look at the promo that Gacy put on, right? And I totally understand this is the cruiserweight title. He's a big guy going for it. In the promo, his whole thing was, I'm going to make this title a title for everyone. That doesn't sound like a bad thing to me. I want to see Io Shirai versus Joe Gacy for a title. I want to see it. That's the thing, though. As a heel, though, you know that will never happen. You know he wouldn't do that. That's what the twist of it is.
Sure, but that only works if you show us that he won't do it.
How can they show it until he's got it? They can't show it to you until he's actually got the title.
And if he gets it, and he gets challenged by Io Shirai, and he gets challenged by Duke Hudson, and then he hides and he's a chicken shit heel about it, then I'll start to pay it. But at the moment, WWE is trying to tell me that this guy is a bad guy, and he's a bad guy because he wants there to be the kind of matches that I want to see.
I just see it as him as a heel is the overly woke brigade that take it too far. And I don't care if even like the woke people don't like those people because they make them look bad. It's like vegans that always talk about being vegans. Like the normal vegans hate those people as well because you're just making me look bad. Will you shut the fuck up? People don't care.
That's me I'm one of those people that extremely lefty. I've got very strong views about, social progressiveness and constantly thinking about political angles on things. And I know those people who take the tiniest little part of something that isn't quite right and blow it up to make someone look completely irredeemable. And I totally get that. Gacy doesn't give me that because the talking points that Gacy is using are not blowing it out of proportion. He's using standard talking points because
I think he's using standard talking points, but it's coming from a person that is not going to like.
But they haven't shown us that, Todd.
Yeah, because it's only new. You've got to do you know what I mean? He actually has to be in the position to be able to do that.
But if you can't get the character across, you say he's only new. How long's he been there? 3 months?
Yeah, maybe.
If you've had a character there for 3 months and you're not getting across the core tenet of the character to me, there's a failure. He's getting across
the core tenet of the character, right? But
he's getting across that he's going to defend a title against women. That's matches I want to see.
Yeah, but then when he gets the title, he doesn't do it. What a shit heel!
Oh, so
you know what I mean? You've got to get the guy. The guy actually has to have the thing to be able to do the thing. If that makes
sense. But then he's not a heel yet because he hasn't made the turn into doing the stuff that I hate.
Well, he is.
In that case, he's just an ineffective face.
Because he's got Harlan. That's
What has
his
he done
heater.
with Harlan?
Well, Harlan's interfered to freeze matches, hasn't he? I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Then that's
But
a heel.
like that's
That's a
but
heel,
not-
baby.
It's a heel, but that's not what the character. So this is
So that
this
makes
is
you
where I'm
mad
at,
because
right?
he's
It's like,
being disingenuous?
it makes me mad at creative for not telling me what this character is supposed to be. Right? Like people should be allowed to be shitheads and still be progressive and have good thoughts about social order. Like
Look,
I think that he's a shithead, but
we've had not arguments. We've had discussions about what I think we should be able to do on shows and what we're not allowed to do on shows because of the way that the political climate is. And that's just what it is, unfortunately. It's the sign of the times. We're called fake, but we're not allowed to do things that are obviously playing a character. And that's just what it is.
So this is going to be one of those things where you and I feel differently about this character.
Yeah.
This is what I want to kind of leave this point on, is that if Joe Gacy gets the Cruiserweight Championship and then spouts his inclusivity, spouts how he's going to defend it against everyone regardless of anything, and then backs out of every match and uses his whole inclusive policy to only defend it against the greenest of the green trainees who are 104 pounds soaking wet, then I'm going to be into the character. Right now, it's absolutely not doing anything for me, and I don't want to watch the match because I don't trust that they're going to do anything with this storyline. I'm skipping the match because I don't care enough.
Fair enough. Well, I'll watch it because it'll annoy you.
Yeah, please do. So let's talk about the next match on the card. It's going to be Duke Hudson versus Cameron Grimes, hair versus hair. Love to see Hudson getting pushed here. It makes sense for Grimes to get that hair cut off because, yeah, I don't think Duke loses this one. I think it's pushing that next big guy, and we know that 6'5" is great. He's been doing it great for a long time. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's good. I don't know about how they got into the match. That was a bit but it is what it is. Duke Hudson, Brendan Vink, Elliot Sexton, whoever you want to talk about.
Whatever you want to call him.
He's a great worker. He was down here in Australia doing great work before. He went into developmental for God knows how long, so he's been in that system for a long time. I hope they really do something with him coming out of this.
Oh, and you want to talk about someone with the look?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's
He
got the
looks
look.
like a pro wrestler.
He's got the smug promo down. He's creative as hell because when no one was doing anything with him, he made his own like mini YouTube series.
The
which was
Smug
hilarious.
series was so good.
He's got so much of the tools that it takes to be one of the big guys. I think he just needs a shot. Like I wouldn't have been completely out of place seeing him instead of a Tony D'Angelo in that Wargames cage.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then let's talk about the last match on the card is the Tag Team Championship. Champions Imperium defending against Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner. I see this staying on Imperium unless they want to call them up soon. It would not shock me if something happens at the Rumble. They're making a main roster debut because they are extremely good, hard-hitting, great workers. It seems like Kyle O'Reilly is a person to be there to kind of tutor Von Wagner, to help him get to where he needs to be. So I think it would make sense for them to put the belts on them and give Von Wagner a chance to grow with O'Reilly. But if Imperium aren't going up, I don't see why you'd take the titles off them.
Also, I wouldn't be shocked if if O'Reilly and Wagner lose this match, if Wagner turns on O'Reilly.
Could see that.
I wouldn't be shocked to see that either. So
No.
either way, it'll be a good match because O'Reilly's one of the best workers in the world. Yeah, I don't like.
Yeah, it's that simple.
I hate the fact that they're not getting quality stuff for all these guys like Strong, guys like O'Reilly. I don't know if they're just happy in NXT because they know what happens if they go up to the main roster, and they're 5'8" and like 210 pounds. But yeah, I hope, like, I know everyone jump on the old, oh, I can't wait to see him sign with AEW. I'm over that train. That train left the station a long time ago, because if half of these guys get signed, they would just be doing dark elevation.
Nothing. Non-shows.
So that's one of the things, we'll talk about it later. So I'll talk about, because there's stuff anyway. I just want to see, there needs to be, and I know this sounds weird because it's only just happened, there needs to be somewhere like an ROH to step up, to step into that role for these other guys that can really friggin' work, to give them a spot to work. Because there's too many people on AEW already. There's too many people on AEW. WWE just seems to be cutting their stuff to the bone because they want to run with a skeleton crew. They want to run with just the amount of people that they need, and not have a warehouse full of people just sitting in the back, just eating catering.
Yep.
And
that's exactly right.
Impact is Impact, and it seems to be Impact is just where everyone from Australia who gets cut ends up going.
Keep the green cards.
Yeah. I was very encouraged to see that MLW drew 5,000 over the weekend to one of their shows.
It was great.
So hopefully they might step up into that extra role, but it takes someone with a bit of green to be able to invest in it.
That's right. MLW has spoken recently about that open door policy, and they got Cobb in to do some stuff. So maybe that's the place. And they've got, that title is on Hammerstone. There is a great leader of a company to be that third, this is the place you go to put on the great matches. So fingers, and I love MLW. They're doing the Azteca Underground thing. It's looking very different from what Lucha Underground was, but that's my thing. So I'm really hoping that they do step up to that role. With that we've talked about what's going to be happening at Wargames. Let's talk about what's going to be happening after Wargames. Beth Phoenix stepping away from commentary. Wish her all the best, because she was absolutely excellent on commentary. I think a really underrated wrestler in her time. Someone who everything that she's done, she has nailed it. So awesome work from Beth Phoenix when she's been on commentary. It'll be sad to see her go. But obviously, if that's what she wants to do, then I hope that goes really well for her.
Well, she made a point to say that she's not leaving WWE. She's just stepping away from that to spend a bit more time with her family. So
yeah, and credit to her.
Maybe that means that she's going to come in as like a part-time trainer for the women's division, which is not a bad thing at all.
No, absolutely not.
We'll see what goes on in the future with her.
Absolutely. And then let's hop over to the other side of the wrestling world and talk about AEW for a minute. The Punk MJF feud, I want to talk about. It's disappointed me a little, because it feels like a lot of it is jumping on easy targets. And we know that both these guys are so good on promo that when they come out and do promos and they call each other needle dick and one pump chump, I'm not watching this show because I want to imagine their sex lives. I'm watching this show because I want to see them talk smack and wrestle. Don't stop talking about each other's penises. I don't need to hear about your penises. I want to hear how you're going to beat the other guy up. MJF did.
That's the ad for next week, by the way. Stop talking about our penises.
That's us on Wrestle Radio Australia, just talking about penises. I think that MJF got it at the end of that most recent promo where he brought up Punk's dog and started talking about Punk's dog. That is the heel MJF I want. Taking it too far and too personal in a way that, as a viewer, I go, you don't talk shit about someone's dog. Like, that's what I want out of MJF, not calling someone one pump chump. What are you thinking of this?
I thought the first one that they did, the first in-ring promo, not the one where Punk laughed and walked off, the first one where they actually faced off for, it was like 20 minutes or something. That was brilliant. Huge. I thought that was brilliant. That was one of the best openings to a show that
I just realized that we hadn't talked about that one yet.
No, because it's been 2 weeks. That's one of the biggest, the best openings of a show that didn't involve actual wrestling in a long time. It was amazing. It was good to see. It shows what wrestlers can do when they're not given a script and they're just told to go out there and feel it out there.
Let me just jump in because I don't want to be misconstrued. I don't want anyone thinking I didn't like that first promo segment.
Yeah.
That was stellar.
The second promo, the second week, when MJF started talking about Britt Baker, that's where I was like, eh. And I've seen people defend it going, well, because Punk has brought up Britt Baker a couple of times and blah, blah, blah. And that doesn't matter. It feels to me like you're trying to devalue her as a wrestler just because she has the vagina, and it's easy to put that into, oh, you're just talking good about her because you want to fuck her. And not only that, like if you're doing that in a promo, and it's well known that Adam Cole is her partner, why the fuck wouldn't Adam Cole come out and go, oi, stop talking about my missus?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
And then
I think
top of that,
and I love MJF. MJF,
yep,
absolutely love. I just think it's not even low-hanging fruit. It's fruit that shouldn't be picked.
And then on top of that, in the same promo, he's coming out and calling QT Marshall easy to beat. You know what I mean? And as much
that I didn't mind because that is what a lot of people are saying is, why are they taking so long to beat these guys? Doesn't seem to be bringing these guys up. It just seems to be pulling them down. Because you look, Punk had that match against Powerhouse Hobbs. I don't think I've seen him wrestle on TV since.
He wrestled Moriarty right before this promo.
No.
Or do you mean Hobbs?
Hobbs. Yeah, I'm talking Hobbs.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, no, you're right.
What value did Hobbs get out of that match? Aside from losing, he didn't get any momentum. He didn't get any real steam out of it. He just got to stand next to Hook while Hook ate a bag of chips.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that, you know, it's right that Punk took a long time to beat QT Marshall and Lee Moriarty, and those guys aren't at the top of the food chain, and it's absolutely correct to say that. You know what I mean? Like, and it's the kind of thing a heel would say, because it's gonna get the kind of people who think about wrestling like we do to go, oh, come on, you don't say that because rah rah. Yeah, that's the kind of heat that you want from a smart crowd. But yeah, I just feel like too much of that more recent promo was lacking, except for those couple of really poignant bits.
Yes. I mean, I love the fact he calls him PG Punk. I love, like, all of that stuff is great. Just leave out Britt Baker.
There was just a couple of lines that were really excellent. He said something along the lines of, I'm the spark to the kind of flame you haven't had since 2011. Stuff like that. Just chef's kiss, beautiful.
And like,
so I just
the Miz line, you're just a less successful Miz or something like that.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this, because Punk called MJF a less famous Miz. And then on SmackDown, I believe SmackDown the following week, Edge had a promo segment with Miz where he talked about on Raw. Thank you. I believe you're right. I can't keep track of what brand is what. Where Edge said to Miz, they're talking about you on other shows. They can't keep your name out of their mouths. I don't care about companies mentioning each other. Cody took a sledgehammer to Triple H's chair, like event 2, right? Like, I don't care. It's not as big a deal as everyone says it is. They're rival wrestling companies. Their fans are wrestling fans. A lot of people watching this know what they're talking about. It's going to get a reaction. It's not a huge deal.
I think I err more towards WWE, where I just wouldn't talk about the competition because I don't want my fans thinking about the competition.
Yeah.
If I'm constantly bringing up WWE like AEW do, like, and you can't say that they don't, they constantly do it. you just constantly talking. Stop talking about them. Focus on your shit. And I think that's what Vince McMahon has always been like. Focus on our work. And the only time they ever acknowledged WCW is when they were getting their asses handed to them.
Yep, absolutely.
And then they did it because they knew they had a better product at the time, and they knew that if the fans somehow got a checked out, like what DX was doing, what Austin was doing, what they weren't going to go back to WCW.
I think it would. There's spaces where, like when Brian cut his first heel promo recently, it wouldn't make sense for him not to bring up WrestleMania. You know what I mean? That's a huge part of who he is. But then you don't need to be bringing up WWE every other week.
Yeah, it was like he did with he was talking about John Silver this week, and he's like, you're in your 30s and you're just now getting you're hanging out with your friends and making goofy comedy things. I was winning world titles when I was turning 30. Stuff like that. Because you know where he won the world titles.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to say where it was, but you know.
No.
Speaking of Danielson, winter is coming. He is going to be trying to take the title off Paige. It does definitely seem like this was the Moxley spot. The more that this goes on, the more clear it is that this was Moxley's aggressive streak was going to lead to a heel turn for him to be in this number one contender spot. And yet, Danielson is absolutely milking every drop he can get out of this, and I'm loving it. He is so good. He is good on the mic. He is good in the ring. He is good at making fans feel something. And I think that, you know, as much as it didn't seem like it was going to make a lot of sense, it seemed like a weird pick. He's nailed it. And I'm really excited to see the match.
I completely agree with you. I think, though, that this is too quick. They could have stretched this out to Battle of the Belts. God knows there's 1,000 members of the Dark Order he could have went through.
Oh, yeah. And I would have loved to see it. Every one of them.
But like I said, they've got Battle of the Belts was their big Saturday night. It's basically their Saturday night's main event. Let's just put it in WWE parlance so people can understand the sort of the gravity of what that show is going to be. That show is going to be like their Clash of Champions. It's their big special that's on a Saturday night for TBS. TBS? It's one of them. TBS or TNT, one of the two. That's their big thing. So why wouldn't have you held that off until then instead of just a Wednesday night in? And especially when at the moment their ratings aren't doing very well because, well, this is what they say. It's because it's not being preempted now in the West Coast, I think. So it's on at 5 p.m. now over on the West Coast. So that's why they're saying that their numbers are soft, is because of that. So why wouldn't you hold that off until the big Saturday night show? Instead,
I think the reason you don't
pop that much of a rating.
The reason you don't hold it off is because you want to make Paige look like a fighting champion. You don't want it to look like he's not defending the belt for several months.
You just having defended against someone else on that night. Surely they could have done that.
Yep. I agree. That. Yeah, and I think it would be good for if they want to talk about how, you know, results matter and we care about rankings and all of this stuff, then let's have someone else go, well, technically I'm first in line. I'm actually ahead of Danielson here. And then they can have the shot. Paige defends the belt successfully. Danielson gets to kick the head in of another member of Dark Order. That's what I would have preferred. But I'm excited to see it either way. Let's jump down here and just quickly mention the Ring of Honor Pure Champion, Josh Woods, making his AEW debut at Dark Tapings on Friday. No contract news as of yet, but the dude's great.
Good pickup.
Really good.
Good pickup.
Yeah,
but again,
absolutely.
It's another guy like Tony Nese that'll just get buried on Dark. He's just in the same position he was in WWE, just with a different 3 letters.
Yep.
Except they gave him the one big payoff on Rampage, where he had his match. It was a very good match too against Spanish God, Sammy Guevara. There we go.
Sammy Guevara. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was it. That was his big, and it seems to be what they do. They will give you one big match and then we'll drop you down to wherever you're going to be for the thing. I think that the one thing that saved Bobby Fish is his relationship with Adam Cole. I think if he wasn't in any way involved in Adam Cole, like in NXT or anything, I think you would see him primarily on Dark and Elevation.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is, and
absolutely.
It's yeah. It is what it is.
Alrighty, let's talk about the big moment that made headlines after Rampage this Friday. Cody Rhodes versus Andrade El Idolo was the main event, and it ended with Brandy Rhodes coming in, setting a table on fire for, setting a table on fire for Cody to hit the big super top rope move off and take all of the fire himself, put absolutely none of Andrade through the table, and then cover for the win. Cody's back looked like a rotisserie chicken after some people have got into it and picked off a couple of bits. It looked pretty nasty. I think that this is, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. Cody trying to be a heel, and then the fire is to build this ruthless persona, but it didn't look effective because only he went through the flaming table, so I don't like that. I'm real lost on this one, Todd.
Look, AEW do not do stunts well. They just don't. No. They've proved it time and time again. So how about lay the fuck off them?
Yep.
You couldn't do the bloody exploding ring. You couldn't do the bump off the cage. The flaming table thing you fucked up as well. Stop doing it. Like, that's 3 times. 3 strikes, bro, you're out. It's done. It's like that. And the fact that, like, Cody came out with some sort of coating on his back because they knew that of course they knew the bump that they were going to take at the end of the night. During the match, this coating started peeling off, which was just, for me anyway, was just very distracting because I was like, what the fuck is on his back? And then when they set the table, I'm like, oh. So for me, that tells me if I'm not a Smarky fan, they had this planned all along. That ruins the whole idea of what wrestling is supposed to be, where you're not planning to always do this. And if he was going to do this table spot, and I told you off the air, why wouldn't he just wear a t-shirt with cut-off sleeves? Because he's done it before.
Or
wear the t-shirt cut off. Yeah. And not only that, their feud hasn't really built up to a point where this is necessary.
No, not at all.
I know you've got to get Brandy on the spot just so people can boo her and she can pretend they're cheering her, but still, you don't need to. I didn't understand it at all. I was just like, I'm not getting this. I don't. If he wants to be a heel, let him be a heel. If he wants to be a face, let him be a face. But stop doing silly shit. And AEW, until you can prove that you can do some stunts without fucking them up, stop doing them. Like, you nearly legit set Andrade on fire because that shit fell off Cody and burnt. You can tell it burned. Like, Andrade nearly kicked out because he got burnt on the stomach by a piece of that, whatever it was that fell off Cody. Like, Cody was still on fire when he did it. And it wasn't him that was on fire. It was that protective coating of whatever it was. So it's one of the things that infuriates me about AEW. They do so much stuff well. And then at the last hurdle, they fuck themselves.
At least the ref didn't start counting the pin until Andrade's shoulders were actually down.
Yeah.
Like,
but you understand
one step forward,
saying,
2 steps back there, AEW. Well done.
They do so much silly stuff. It's just like, you've got everything. You don't need to do this. Why are you doing this? I don't get it. Why don't you do stuff like when Hardy falls off that ladder and has concussion? Just call the fucking match.
Call it.
Just do that. Like, if you can't do that bump where it looks like off the cage, where it looks legit, don't do it. If the technicians don't know how to make an exploding ring and you can't get Onita's guys in, even though you talked to Onita, because obviously you did interviews with the guy, so you could have said, hey, who's the one who set up all your pyrotechnics? Don't do it. If you can't do a flaming table spot without putting some shit on your back that peels off during a match so it looks like you're Freddy Krueger before you go through the table, don't do it. You've
Hey,
so
what's
much
that?
going for
What's
you.
that
It's such a good show.
EPW mantra, Todd? What's the
Don't be
EPW mantra?
shit. Don't
Don't be shit.
It's
so
they've got
easy.
so much shit going for them. They've got a stacked roster, really good matches, albeit like in my opinion they go a little bit too long. Like I say that 5-minute rule. They always seem to go 5 minutes over when they should like outstay their welcome. It's an amazing product, and they've got so much ahead of them. They just shoot themselves in the foot every time. I don't know if that's just Tony being that ADHD in him, like, I will do this, and we'll give more, and we'll give more, and just not having that restraint that experienced sort of people in wrestling with. No, don't give them everything, because then they've got everything. They won't come back for the extra stuff. Don't give them everything all the time. Don't give them a flaming tables on a Wednesday night in bloody November, especially when you're still only going to do. You're not even going to crack a mill.
Yep.
I'm
Absolutely.
sorry, I'm ranting. I apologize. I take.
That's what we're here for, Todd. We're here to rant. We're here to talk about wrestling. And we are going to come back and talk about some more wrestling. And we're maybe going to do something that we haven't quite done on Making Chicken Salad yet, that I am very excited for, talking about maybe one of my favorite events for the year. So stick around after the break.
Is the Bro Day Pod. Like, this comes from the whole statement where you were like, chicks hate being attracted to guys.
Bro, they do, man. They are.
Chicks hate the fact that they're attracted to guys.
And we make it so easy. Like, just be there. And we're like, like, are you,
okay.
yeah, like just exist. And then we're like, oi,
I like chicks.
bro. Yeah, cheeks, bro.
Chicks are so hot.
Chicks are so hot, bro. I swear to God, bro.
So all of this is just chicks just tail-ending dudes, man.
All right, let's go.
Just,
All right.
oh, sorry, the only disclaimer is the last one, not done.
Okay.
But the tweet is so brutal.
All right.
So
Wait, what do you mean? The last one you've
Trust
not.
me.
Oh, okay. You've not done it.
I've
Gotcha.
not done
I understand.
it, but it's brutal.
Okay. Let's go.
So this is all
go.
just chicks
Yep.
talking about icks that guys do.
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect.
Number one.
Number one.
Holding an umbrella is enough to give me the ick, but if that umbrella turns inside out, they're never seeing me again.
Bro, again, like, what do you want us to do? The structural integrity of the umbrella is not on us. Are you joking me? And holding an umbrella. Are you insane? Holding an umbrella for holding one.
The fact that she was like, holding an umbrella is enough to give me the ick, but if that umbrella turns inside out, they are never seeing me again.
Unbelievable.
It killed me.
Bro, that's savage. That's savage. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's very like macho to be like, nah, bro, just walk.
To be
I don't
fair-
need the umbrella. I'm stronger than the rain.
To be fair, I've seen umbrellas turn inside out when girls hold them, and I'm like,
Follow Bro Day No Plan B podcast on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
So here on Making Chicken Salad, we always talk about what's going on in the wider world of wrestling. You know, we're on Wrestle Radio Australia, but this show tends to be looking at what's happening outside Australia. But, you know, sometimes the best shows in the world are happening here in Australia, and it would be wrong not to talk about that. So this past Friday night, we had PWA in Sydney putting on Now We Conquer, and what a show. What a show, Todd. I was tweeting away the whole time because I tell you what, like, I love when AEW had Full Gear. It was the first time in a long time I'd sat down and watched a full wrestling show and enjoyed the full thing. PWA, it feels the same. It feels like watching an AEW show. It's high intensity. It's world-class wrestling. There's fun and humor, but there's also just killer matches. Overall, I thought it was a great show. So do you share that opinion?
Yes, I did. It was $15, which means
It's insane.
if you're in America, that's even less. It's what, 12 or $10, maybe, to watch the guys that let's face it, a lot of them should be signed, and a lot of them probably will be signed in the future, and some that have come from there have been signed.
I something I said on Twitter was that you could transplant just about every person that was on that show directly into NXT, and all of them would work because they are great. They get it. So from the top, we had PWA, a non-title match with PWA heavyweight champion Ricky South against Carter Deems. South is superb. He seems like a guy who in the territory days would have been a champion everywhere he went. He's an absolute powerhouse who connects with the crowd. He's got some beautiful skill. There was a crucifix roll through that was just like art in this match. Carter Deems is one of those guys who it's a shame almost that he was with Wahlberg for so long. For anyone who doesn't know, Grayson Waller, formerly Wahlberg in PWA, was in a tag team called The Babes with Carter Deems. And it felt like Deems was a little bit in his shadow, but Deems is so good and put on a main event worthy match here. Super impressive. What did you pick out of this match?
Yeah, but like, funny you say that because that's something that Carter and I talked about when I had him on the show for the actual Wrestle Radio Australia show, is that like he felt very much like he was sort of in the shadow of Matty because Matty was just, his personality just leaps. He was just out there. He's every bit as good an athlete. He's every bit as good a talker when he needs to be a talker. It's just a part of his game that he never really worked on because he didn't have to work on it because Matty was there.
Yep.
And now you're sort of seeing him come into his own because he's working that muscle out. He's working that character muscle out. And this is a really good start. It was maybe a tad long for an opener, but it was still a really good match.
Yeah, it was great. And it was followed up by Unsocial Jordan coming out and saying that he wants the best for Ricky South and giving a present to all of PWA by bringing back ring announcer Diego, going into Unsocial Jordan later being in a fatal four-way for a number one contendership, so really building that story. After that was a four-way dance between Big Fudge. Let's go through some of these gimmicks for anyone who doesn't know PWA.
Hello, nice to meet you. Sorry,
Big Fudge.
Every time I hear Big Fudge, I have to do that. Hello.
Oh, he's the best. Big Fudge, a podcast legend in Australian wrestling, is an ice cream themed luchador who's a very weedy guy, but he's a super heavyweight is the gimmick. And he does
MMA master too.
Yep, that's right. And he does a punch to the butt that is just absolutely devastating. A big old butt punch. So that's Big Fudge. Was up against Reese Angel, who's a pretty boy, up against Jimmy Townsend, who is a former prefect who's just finished his gap year, as well as Townsend's former partner in the prefects, Billy Preston, who is now at uni and has been repackaged into
Big Brother
Billy Preston, which
is brilliant. It's a brilliant gimmick. He looks like Steve. He looks like Steve from
He's
Blue's
Steve
Clues.
from Blue's Clues. It's brilliant. And it's like this. It's a little bit Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt. It's a little bit Adam Rose and the Rosebuds Party Animal coming out with all his mascots. But then he's got this awesome shirt with like paint handprints on it that looks like art that kids have done. It's his old butchers, but it looks like it's got the art that you said on it. Yeah. Yep. He's doing like, all right, guys, let's learn to count when he's doing the 10 punches in the corner. Absolutely brilliant. Preston won this one and looked like a star doing it. Yeah. Great match. After that, we had a tag team match.
Before you go on, I love the match. The only thing I found weird at it is to have Preston and Townsend in that match together. I probably would have maybe tried to separate them a bit more.
No, this feels
just to like, so when they do come back to meet again, it's not just a sort of a throwaway thing. It's like, do you know what I mean? Maybe I'm thinking too much into it because I really love that cinematic match that they did.
Me too, but I also feel like Preston and Townsend are going to be really intertwined for a long time. They're guys who are at a similar level in their career, who have a lot of history together. And it's the same way that, you know, people like Owens and Zayn are always going to end up in matches together. And they've got that history. And I want to see them existing in this same company and weaving past each other. And every so often you just get that moment of they're in a four-way match and they pull out the old tag team moves, but then they've got to face off against each other. I think that it will make the payoff when we do get another big one-on-one Preston Townsend match. I think it'll make it bigger. But I do agree with what you're saying. The cinematic match they did in the playground was phenomenal.
I also think that maybe that poor Reese Angel sort of got lost in the shuffle. Like three really big characters, or three really well-known and loved characters, and then Reese trying to get over the pretty boy thing. I feel like he just got a little bit left behind. Not left behind, but lost in the match, if that makes sense.
I don't disagree. And I feel like, you know, when he's got a new gimmick, but the match feels like it's tooled to show off the new gimmick for Billy Preston, it does feel like he can get a little bit lost. But he's also a good athlete who, you know, made Preston look great. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The one thing about this whole show is it wasn't one bad athlete on the show.
No, absolutely not. We had SMS versus Bonsai and Kingsley. So this is AJ and Belle Pierce as SMS against Bonsai and Kingsley as the Bad Bitch Nation. And if SMS won, Bad Bitch Nation would have to change their extremely inappropriate name. But Bonsai was kind of not going at full pelt because he kind of doesn't like the Bad Bitch Nation name until AJ started pushing him. And Bonsai went into that fifth gear that he can put on. Kingsley is, I think, one of the most entertaining workers in the country. Somehow she can yell for an entire match. It's an absolute talent, just screaming the whole time. Yeah, and Bonsai is clearly the guy in this match with the most experience, but it was a good match from all four. All four looked like great competitors, with Bonsai and Kingsley getting the win and remaining the Bad Bitch Nation.
I just like when they got the win and Bonsai realized what he's done. He's like, shit.
After that, we had a women's match. Shazza McKenzie in the new heel gimmick with the Heartbreak Core versus the much-loved Cherry Stevens. So Cherry Stevens, now an intern for the Goober Report, reporting on Who's a Goober. Formerly was friends with the prefects because she's only young. Cherry has come such a long way in her work. When she was first on those Green Label shows, she was okay. She has become really quite a good wrestler, and the fans love her. Obviously, Shazza is a great worker. This is a great women's match.
Yeah, talking to Bonsai this past week, he was saying how much work that Cherry puts in, and you really start to see the fruits of that labor now on these shows, and she's really starting to come into her own, which is great to see. It's good to see the future.
Cherry posted a video on Reddit the other day, which a mate shared to me. He's like, this person says they're from Sydney. Do you know who it is? And it was someone had posted like, this is my growth over the last few years. And I immediately was like, oh, it's Cherry. And you can see her starting out only a couple of years ago and, you know, making the effort to put her feet in the right place. And it's, you know, that little bit clunky. Whereas now she's really smooth, really, you know, putting on a great match.
She's smooth in the ring, and her character is really good as well.
Really strong.
That Believe is intern that gets bullied by Will Keatis is great.
Yeah. I might actually, we got to talk about it now. PWA versus MCW. So coming up next week, the week after, a couple of weeks, can't remember. There is going to be a huge Worlds Collide show in Melbourne with the stars of PWA taking on the stars of MCW in a best of 5 series, culminating with Ricky South versus Adam Brooks as a champ versus champ match. And as a preview to it, there was a 6-man tag here. Representing PWA was Speed Force, which is the Velocities with, I was going to say Matt Rogers, but that's not him, with Help me out.
Matt Diamond.
Matt Diamond. Thank you. I knew
Sorry, I
it
was researching the words collide.
You're all good. So Speed Force are just like the kings of technical high flying wrestling. You know, the Velocities have been over to PWG. They are phenomenal. The speed that they work at is unparalleled. And then on the other side from MCW,
And not only that, they're also starting to put on a bit of size as well, if you've noticed.
Yeah, bulking up that little bit. And then representing MCW was Mitch Waterman, who is formerly, or not formerly, I guess he's still part of the Brat Pack, but going out on his own now, along with Slex, one of the greatest champions that MCW has ever had, and a mystery third man who was revealed to be Caveman Ugg, the longest reigning champion in PWA's history, officially defecting to represent MCW. The crowd was absolutely livid. I'll cut to the chase here. This is on my match of the year list. It was a barn burner. It was absolutely phenomenal. No one in this match did not knock it out of the park. Unbelievable. So good.
Can you think of a bad match that the Velocities have had over the last 2 years?
No. Can you think of a bad match that Slex has had over the past 2 years? Like, and Ugg is freaking Ugg, right? But I cannot. MCW won this match with a ton of heat after one of the Velocities came off the top. Ugg just straight caught them, dropped him into a driver that was. I made a noise that I can't describe seeing Ugg just drop this guy with a driver. Watch this match. Watch this match. It is so good. Go out and watch this match for real. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Anything else you can contribute, Todd? Because I can't do anything other than
I'm pretty sure you covered everything there. Great match. Like I said, I haven't seen a bad match that those two, like Velocity, have had in the last 24 months easily. And they've had a varied amount, like different opponents. You like MK Ultra, you know, Aussie Open. Even in the lost Aussie Open, that was one of the matches of the year.
Oh, absolutely.
In that last.
And they are
so good.
Absolutely world class. Like if AEW signed them, they could go up against the Lucha Brothers and the Bucks tomorrow, and it would be a killer match. Like they are superb. After that, after the intermission, we had a 4-way match to determine number 1 contender for Ricky South's title. 4-way between Matt Rogers, who is an absolute behemoth, Tree Hugger Lucci, who Matt Rogers absolutely
Lyrebird
hates
Lucci
at the moment. Lyrebird Lucci, sorry. As well as Jessica Troy, the arm collector, who was recently cheated out of the PWWA championship, and Unsocial Jordan, who we saw have some business with the champ Ricky South earlier. This is how you put on a 4-way match. Rogers wanted Lucci. Lucci wanted to stay away from Rogers. Jordan and Troy knew that they would have to deal with Rogers in order to win the contendership. Lucci knew that if he could wait for one of them to get taken out, he could pick the bones and quickly get a win. All of these people are clearly in character thinking about what they need to do to win this match, except Matt Rogers, who has something else that he wants out of it, and it makes a story. This match was absolutely so cool, and it ended with Jordan and Troy both putting submissions onto Lucci, getting the tap, and being declared as joint winners, and both being number 1 contenders. Man, what a show, because this match was awesome. It was a great way to put on a 4-way, and I immediately want to see the next show, because are we getting triple threat for the title, South Troy Jordan? Because
yes,
that's awesome.
It's funny you say that, because when I was when I was watching it, I was like, this is where they almost need a GM type figure to come out and announce that on the show.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? To to move.
Because they were declared as co-winners, and that's all that was really, commentary gave us a little bit, but there's no authority there to go, this is what's happening now.
I love the the bit of the start where Lucci is trying to get like allies to help him against Rogers, and he's like, oh, like with Jess, he's like, oh, you want to help? She's like, I don't like you. Just the way she said it just makes me. Every time I talk about it, I gush about it because I love Jess Troy. She shouldn't be in Australia. She should be signed already somewhere.
She is one of the best
She's
in the
amazing.
world, full stop.
Yeah, she's like people now, like I think somebody even I saw today on Twitter, somebody hit up QT Marshall about it. Like why the hell isn't she signed somewhere? And QT made a dickish response because that's QT. But then sort of got slammed in the comments by everyone like seconding, like, no, she's amazing, she's amazing, she's amazing. Robbie Eagles jumped on. She's probably stronger than a lot of the guys in the car. She's like all of this sort of stuff, like to back her up. And she shouldn't be here. I love Jess Troy as a worker. One of my favorite workers, full stop. Man, woman, dog, horse. Like, I don't care. She's just engaging and it works well, carries down, knows what to do in every spot, which is amazing.
This shows the match that she is in there, where she's up against Lucci, who's a conniving heel, Jordan, who is slimy and sneaky and knows how to get what he wants and is a solid technical wrestler, and Rogers, who is this absolute behemoth powerhouse. And she comes in, and if you look at people tweeting about it, she seems to be the favorite to win.
Yeah.
And there's no mention of the fact that she's the only woman in the match, because that's where she deserves to be. It's her spot on the card. Of course, she's in the number one contenders match.
And that's what PWA do really well. Like, again, I'll say it again. I'm not trying to plug it or anything, but in the discussion with Bonza, was talking about that. It was just like, there is just wrestlers. There's no men, there's no women, it's just wrestlers.
Yeah, if we look earlier in the card, there was that SMS versus Bonsai and Kingsley match. That's two intergender teams, and it doesn't even come up in the discussion about it because they're just wrestling.
They're just teams. That's the whole reason they renamed the PWA title, which we'll talk about soon, was because of that. Because it's like, it's no longer Pro Wrestling Women's Australian title. It's not that anymore because there is no genders in the belts or the divisions.
And I think rightfully so. But before we got to that main event, MK Ultra came out with an open challenge. I love MK Ultra because I know guys like that in real life who would be super cool guys, except they are just so obsessed with anime, just absolute weebs who never shut up about it. And I hate those guys. And MK Ultra are just like, they're so full of themselves in the way they come out in the full cosplay with the Buster Sword. And
it's not even like, it's like Spencer just has this weapon of destruction in Kai Drake that hangs out with him.
Yeah.
Because Kai Drake barely says anything that's there's always like a yell or like an angry sort of thing.
You just point Kai Drake at what you want destroyed.
Pretty much.
That's the reason that Lucci was in that four-way match, is he got Kai Drake to win entry for him. Like,
yes,
delightful. And so they came out before the main event and declared an open challenge, and it was answered by One Direction, of course, the luchador boy band, who put on a surprisingly good, I mean, MK Ultra could wrestle brooms, but One Direction put up a solid fight and ended up getting the win with some Twan magic. I thought that it was a very entertaining match, and it fit to have that huge four-way match going into this big emotional main event, to stick One Direction in the middle and give everyone a bit of a light break there. Good fun.
So you mentioned that, and I actually messaged Rosie after the show, and just like, that was a really good call. That whole show was a really good call from those two, considering that they've sort of been out of action for a while, not been able to call shows. They didn't call the Academy show because that was done by JT, Piers, and Jack. So they didn't even really get a warm-up show going into that. They sort of just hit the ground running, hadn't lost a step, was really good on all of their calls. And great job by those two. It was a really good match, really entertaining match. The pop that One Direction got when their music hit, that was great.
Yeah, really fantastic. And then going into the main event. So Sam Osborne is a North Shore of Sydney prick who is being managed by Don Marnell, who the easiest way to imagine Don Marnell is if you picture Don Callis, now put a can of VB in his hand. That's Don Marnell.
Or Guinness.
Pint of Guinness in his hand. There you go. That now you've got Don Marnell. And Don Marnell got a referee on the take to get Sam Osborne to cheat or not cheat, but with the crooked referee, take that PWA title off of Jessica Troy and rebrand it as the Soul of PWA Championship, which is a stunning looking belt.
Yeah, it's also like it's a bit more layered than that because that referee had been on the take for a while because that referee looked the other way when he got eliminated from the Rumble to get back in. And then there was a whole layered story for that turn, which was really good. And again, Bonzo and I talked about it. Sort of like Osborne got sort of robbed of a really big run because of the shutdowns. Because at the end of that last show, when the referee done what he'd done, he'd won the title. They'd screwed out Jess Troy, who was absolutely beloved by that PWA crowd. It's one of the most like visceral heats that I've seen in Australian wrestling. It was really good to see.
Oh yeah.
So it was a great story leading into this.
Yeah, fantastic. And was being challenged for that Soul of PWA Championship by Mick Moretti, who is, if you don't know Mick Moretti, you're missing out. The guy's worked over in PWG. He is it's the standard crazy gimmick, but nailed. Like he's just off the rocker enough while letting it show through that he is a smart, talented professional wrestler who is just going to do weird stuff to get the advantage in the match by not doing what his opponent expects. Really great. Came out with some clown makeup and he's dyed his mustache bright green. I tweeted every time Moretti is about to come out, I think to myself, we know Moretti, seen this guy plenty of times, know what he does. And then he comes out and your hair just stands on end. He has pure X Factor star power. Incredible. And this match was a killer match. It had all of those things you want from the big main event where there's interference and the crooked referee ignores it and Moretti somehow survives. And then the ref gets knocked out and ref Nick comes out and he's about to call it down the middle, but then Marnell gets involved and it builds and builds and builds until finally Moretti wins, takes that title. Absolutely smashing. Such a good show, top to bottom. Great main event. I don't know what more to say.
Great main event, great match. Didn't like the result.
I wanted Osborne to be an established heel, but it feels wrong to call a title the Soul of PWA and not give it to Moretti.
Yeah, but also too, if you're calling it a Soul of PWA, isn't it then the chase to get that off the guy that you know shouldn't have that instead of just giving it that first show? I understand the whole thing about like, and it's true, like guys like Moretti, Bonza, they're the soul of PWA. Like Madison Eagles, she's the soul of PWA.
Madison Eagles is the soul of PWA.
Yeah, but I guess this is just me with my old man booking head. The money for me has always been in the chase. So you would have him get screwed. You'd have Moretti get screwed and then have to fight his way back up.
Do you think Moretti keeps this title for very long?
That's the thing. Like there's no, unless there's something happens with Osborne, there's no built-in rivalry anywhere. that I can see. Like he had a built-in rivalry, and that guy now is Grayson Waller. So,
we never got the match. It's devastating.
No, we got enough of them in the Rumble to try and quench that. And they sort of, it's not like Carter Deems is the next guy because they sort of already blew that off as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
If this was me, and this is not anything against PWA, because I love Bonsai, I love the whole creative group that they've got there. Some of the most inventive stuff comes from PWA. I personally would have had Sam Osborne win that match and then have Moretti go, I'm winning that title. I'm getting that title. And then set them on a course where he has to go through Ketis. He has to go through other guys. Like you get bloody, what's his name? Golden Boot.
The Beach Bum Buddha.
Yeah, you get him in. So Moretti's got to go through him. You put all these obstacles in front of Moretti to finally get to Osborne to win that title. That's what I would have done if they were my toys.
I think that this is going to be an absolutely defining championship for this version of SMS. That's what I want out of this. Is as much as I would love Unsocial Jordan to have a run with that main belt and take it off, because there's a lot of history inbuilt there between him and the current champ Ricky South. But I also, I think that him taking this soul of PWA belt hostage and having Bell Pierce and AJ, stand in the way of anyone trying to challenge for it would be really cool.
The thing is, though, like, what is Jordan at the moment? Is he a heel or is he a face? Because he brought Diego back and he stopped the guy from attacking Ricky after the match. And you know what I mean? It's all subtlety. It's all, you're not quite sure.
That's what I like. I like that it's subtle because no one's coming in to watch this.
I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying, what is he though?
He's obviously a heel.
He's
obviously yes, Todd.
Is he though?
Yes. He's a dick. He has been for a decade.
He gave up the tripod. He brought Diego back. He saved Ricky from a beating. He demanded that the tag team go by the rules now.
And I love it. I love it because I can't justify hating him right now, but I know he's up to something. I know he's up to something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. I know he's up to something.
I love the show as a whole. I thought it was amazing. $15, get on it. If you haven't seen it yet, get onto FITE. $15. You will not regret your investment. And
we asked for some fan comments on it, and Chris Thunder said, "Great show. Glad to see Aussie wrestling live on FITE." Absolutely agree. We also got a comment from Frankie Smose who said, went to the show. The 6-man stole the show. That 6-man was phenomenal. MCW talent will really help add to the show since they've lost people like Wahlberg and Aussie Open over the last year. As always, the bonus matches make the show run way longer than it has to, which led to parts of the main event being in silence, which it didn't deserve. I did notice that as well. For such a great main event, it felt like the crowd was burnt out on it, which if you'd just seen the matches that we watched through FITE wouldn't be the case. But overall, a very good show. They just need to build up some strong, serious talent to challenge for both titles. Absolutely agree with Frankie there. Some really good comments.
Yeah, I agree completely. They just, like I said, there's no real, the heavyweight now does have, when you've got Jess Troy, you got Jordan. Obviously, Jess Troy isn't sort of like the main focus, you would say, for that challenger, because you've got the whole Jordan and Ricky thing. But the other one, they've got some work to do with building up some challenges for Mick, unless they're just going to have Osborne come back after it. And then two, again, old man book ahead. Why wouldn't you just had Osborne defend it, and then the challenges, for me, in my mind, the challenges just line up.
Yeah.
There's Jess who wants her belt back. There's Mick because he got screwed. There's anyone from the nation because it's the nation and they're trying to come back. Do you know what I mean? There's a whole plethora of people that could to challenge for that title. Whereas on the other side, I don't see a hell of a lot of like heels.
No, I agree.
Logical challenges.
I think part of that is just the fact that because PWA thrives on homegrown talent, basically everyone that comes through, the fans attach themselves to and love. There's very few people, you know, we can list off people like MK Plus Ultra, Sam Osborne, and Unsocial Jordan. Other than them, you don't get a whole lot of strong heels because Lucci. But again, I feel like there's almost a begrudging respect for Lucci. You know what I mean? Because these guys are homegrown talents and we see just how well they're doing, how much they're progressing as wrestlers to become really good stars. I really do hope Lucci gets some big time storylines because I think that he is fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, with that, I just want to close off by saying, go watch PWA Now We Conquer. What an awesome show. And that can lead us into our final segment, chicken salad and chicken shit. Toddy, let's start, get the negatives out of the way. What was chicken shit for you this week?
The Cody thing, chicken shit.
I had a guess. Yep.
That was chicken shit. Yeah, because my rant before, I pretty much wasted it on that. Also the MJ. I've got a few actually. MJF with the whole Britt Baker. Don't bring it up. You don't have to bring her up. Don't get a name out your mouth. On the WWE side, there's just a lot of stuff I don't understand what's going on with that. It's so very frustrating because they've got so much talent and they're just not using it right. They just aren't. You can't deny it. There's just no. It feels like that there's no emotion in a lot of the stuff that they do now. There's no, and that's what for me, it's what drives pro wrestling is just emotion. So yeah, there we go. There's a couple of chicken shits. I might think of something else, but I can't off the top of my head right now.
For me, for my chicken shit, we skipped over one of the news stories from AEW so that I could talk about it here, and that is Big Swole not renewing her contract with AEW, leaving to, we don't know, do exactly what. Man, this is an absolute demonstration of AEW failing in their women's division, because Big Swole should be one of the most respected women's workers in the world. And if she got one run against Britt that was extremely underwhelming and had that gimmick dentist match blow off that didn't go anywhere. I don't blame Swole for leaving because she was not getting anything out of this. And I think that is an absolute crime because she is phenomenal. I doubt that she will end up in WWE because I don't think she's seeing Cedric, her husband, have great experiences over there.
Well, not only that, she also talked a lot of shit about them on Twitter because of that.
She sure did. So I don't see her going there. Hopefully it means we get a whole lot more great independent women's matches, which there always are. There's always great independent women's matches. Why can't there be great women's matches on AEW? And that'll keep talent like Big Swole around. It's heartbreaking for me. This is, it's almost me being angry, but it's mostly me being sad. It's such a waste. It's such a waste of a really good talent who is not getting to be in front of eyes. Pretty upsetting. I'll go ahead and talk about my chicken.
So, sorry. This is also something that I reckon I talked about a while ago, is that AEW aren't going to release people. They're just going to let them starve them out, and then they'll just go, I'm not going to renew.
Yep.
Is what's going to happen. Is it,
and
like,
this
they're going to
is
just
the first
put them on dark until their contract is up, and like they'll promote the fact that the Young Bucks have re-signed. Well, we've re-signed the Young Bucks. Where the fuck were the Young Bucks going to go? Really? Yep. When you think about it.
And we talked on another episode about how kind of the first person to leave AEW was Smiley Kylie Ray, but there was other stuff going on with that. This is the first time that someone has really come out and said, AEW is not for me, and left. So we'll see how that progresses.
And I predicted a while ago that there's going to be more people as their contracts come up, if they think that they can do something else, or if they're just not happy with just working Universal Studio tapings of Dark and Elevation, and that's all that they're doing. Because for a lot of them, that's all that they are doing. I realize, I see now that Tony sort of cycles guys in and out of Dynamite and all of that sort of stuff. Those guys eventually are going to get sick of just being cycled in and out for a few months, like your Pillmans and your like the gun show at the moment. They're getting a bit of a run with Sting and Allen, but then after that's done, they'll be back in Dark Elevation, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a whole thing now, and it's just that's the model that he's going with. That's his decision, and that's fine. But now he has a overabundance of talent where he has to work out what he's going to do with them.
Yep. Yeah, too many people in the one place. Really simple. I'm going to go ahead and talk about my chicken salad because I couldn't shut up about it before. PWA versus MCW 6-man tag on PWA Now We Conquer is one of the best matches I've seen in a long time. I cannot stop picturing Caveman Ugg catching Jude London, hitting that Fire Thunder driver, just driving him. Such a good match. Such a good match. Go watch it. Go watch that match. Pay the $15. Watch it on FITE. Watch the whole event because it's great, but watch that 6-man tag. Oh my God. If international people aren't watching that and getting their checkbooks out, I don't know what they're doing.
I've got a couple because one is an obvious one, and it is the first promo between Punk and MJF. It was just so good. There's 20 minutes, and you didn't realize that 20 minutes had gone by for the start of the show before like their promo was up. That's something that used to happen on your Raws and your SmackDowns with WWE. They used to be able to come out for that first 20 minutes and set the table for the 3 hours or the 2 hours, and you didn't realize it had been 20 minutes because it's such good content. That's what wrestling is. It's not always, wrestling isn't always two guys locking up in a ring. Wrestling embodies everything around that. And those two guys are two of the best in the world at it, and they need to just hone it in a little bit more, like we talked about with the one the week after. My other chicken salad is one that I don't know that even a lot of people are talking about, but it was the Jamie Hayter Thunder Rosa match on Dynamite.
Yeah.
That was really good. And you'd never like, how shocked are you that I'm talking about a women's match right now? That was that was a really good match. That is something where they actually made a lockup look like a lockup. Like that's what lockups are supposed to look like. I think I messaged Bobby Bishop and said, watch the start of this. That's what lockups are supposed to be. They're supposed to be genuine contests to try and get an advantage of someone.
This is what I've been saying for a long time about the AEW women's division is you've got people like Jamie Hayter and Thunder Rosa. Put them in a ring and let them have a great match.
So that, yeah, and anything FTR are doing at the moment. I love them. Loving FTR. So, yeah, they're my chicken salads for the show, mate.
That just shows, you know, when we both have that opportunity to gush about how much good stuff is going on, it shows how much great wrestling there is out there, especially, you know, around the world and in Australia as well. So if you're interested in...
Sorry, December the 19th is Worlds Collide, PWA, MCW. It's on at 2 p.m. on a Sunday for us here. So 1:30 because we're up here in, was it? It's 1 o'clock, isn't it? Because we're
1 o'clock.
We're now, yeah. 1 o'clock in Brisbane, 2:30 Southern States, or 2 o'clock in the Southern States. Get it, invest your time, get it. It's going to be an unbelievable card. Best of Australian wrestling. You got two of the best feds in the country doing a mixed match, a mixed show. What's the word I'm looking for? A combined show. The super show, if you will.
Super show. Let's go with that. So I tell you what, with that amount of great wrestling coming out of Australia, I actually have a podcast recommendation for everyone. It's called Wrestle Radio Australia. You can go subscribe to it. It's free. Do it on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts from. It's hosted by, I don't know, some wanker named Todd.
Hey. repeated Manager of the Year winner.
But especially like you were saying before, Todd, the last episode is with Jack Bonser, and you talk about, you know, what is going on at PWA, and that's going to be the kind of thing that if you're interested in Australian wrestling, there is no reason not to be subscribed. It's free. If you're doing it on Apple Podcasts, please also, while you're there, give us a rating, give us a review, give us 5 stars. Really helps us to get out there to more people, to promote what we're doing, to promote Australian wrestling in general. Follow us on social media. On Twitter and Instagram, we're at WrestleRadio AU. On Facebook, Wrestle Radio Australia. You can follow Todd on Twitter at Beast Eastman. You can follow me on Twitter at Lachlan Albert. There is tons of wrestling content that we're going to be sharing. If you love what we're doing here and you want to show that love to other people, head on over to Redbubble, search for Wrestle Radio Australia. There's heaps of merch there that has the logo on it, and all the proceeds from it go to a couple of amazing charities, Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life, that support men's mental health in Australia. So, you know, it's something to support things that really need support. Anything else we want to mention, Todd?
That's probably about it, mate. I don't even know who I'm going to have on this week because I've been so snowed under with work and work outside of wrestling with if you're interested in seeing what's happening up here in Queensland, the Wide Bay Pro Show should be up as we speak now on there. This is with a hell of a ring announcer, Lachlan Albert.
I was gonna say they just need a better ring announcer. Honestly, that's all they need to really go into the next year.
Yeah, they're a group up there that are really trying hard to get better and to get good, and they're taking great steps forward. So, and I say that humbly.
Humbly, as he helps them out doing that. But with that, that's been Making Chicken Salad for this fortnight. So join us next time. On behalf of Todd Eastman, I've been Lachlan Albert. Have a good one.